ultimately a community is all about the people, right? It's who we bring together, for what reason we bring them together, and of course there needs to be some kind of value out of those gatherings.
Like you need scale in the community to really make a mark, and it's just getting to that scale that's a hard part. I think that's the biggest challenge for us.
But at the same time, I think it's important for the Usights brand to be seen as a Tomorrowland. You want to be the full-on experience, which is a wow effect from the beginning to the end, and that people will remember. And just because of that, they want to be part of it. They want to be part of our story. Welcome to the Revenue Discussion Podcast, and welcome to this episode number 20, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, every 5 episodes, we give a little behind the scenes of what's happening at Usights. And therefore, we have Maarten back, because Maarten, we have missed you.
Yeah, you could almost say a new face on the podcast. I haven't been here for a couple of episodes, but just to explain it, it's a bit of a new format. We decided to just take one host, mainly Dylan, and that I stay in the back end. I do the editing and those kind of things, so we don't do the same job, mainly preparing for the episodes.
Yeah, and at the end, every 5 episodes, we do that behind of the scenes, so you still come back to the show, you show your face, you make your voice very clear for the audience.
Show them still alive.
And you share your experience as well, you share your story, so we won't miss you, definitely.
That's it.
So maybe a first topic to start off with is kind of explain us maybe what's the current state of the community, because people might know that we are building the sales community here in Belgium, but what does that mean now concretely, now that we are a month later, of about the month of the last 15th episodes? So can you kind of explain the audience a little bit about what's the community right now?
Yeah, sure. I think the last month we've been a bit more quiet on social media. Before we were very busy with all our events, etc. But we've been building in the background. I think the main part we've been doing now is either like putting up the membership, selling it, and as well making the next events. And that's mainly my job, I would say. First of all, I would say the online events. Like every week there will be an online event, either a training by an expert where we just do 40 minutes of purely value, or otherwise is a roundtable. I think the roundtable has been a bit more of our time because we really want to nail this concept. Every other week we want to bring one subject to the front, put it in the middle of a virtual table of 5 people, and let them discuss it. We will always try to bring 5 people together with the same kind of experience, the same kind of sector, so they really can speak out of, I would say, the same level. That's the most important thing, that people speak on the same level. And to do that, you've built a small algorithm, if I can say it myself, and that's why we ask questions in the beginning of every roundtable to keep it relevant. And I think next to that, the physical events are starting up as well. So beginning of October, we will do the first in-person networking after work with the members of the community, and then towards the beginning of the year. By the way, we will do that every quarter, so like October, the beginning of January, and so on. And also in the beginning of the year next year, so end of January, beginning of February, we will try a new concept. It's a sales excellence day. It's just about sales execution, not the leadership part. That's where we are sales. And that's a concept we will try. A big event, I would say around 200 people coming together to just learn about sales and then connect with, of course, an after party, because it was requested by a lot of people at We Are Sales.
Yeah, people ask for it. They gotta have it. That's for sure. Yeah, because to add on that, I think indeed the last month we have been thinking a lot of what we can do to enable that community happening, because ultimately a community is all about the people, right? It's who we bring together, for what reason we bring them together, and of course there needs to be some kind of value out of those gatherings. And I think that's definitely what we have been taking into consideration in everything that we have started to plan out, to really make sure that if we do host an event, how can we make sure that we gather people that can be relevant to each other, and not just to gather a bunch of people. So that's why indeed we have that matching algorithm, we have that form that we request to fill in before each event, and and yeah, and I think there also we had to find some kind of balance between in-person events and virtual events, because I mean, also, I mean, it's also a current state of the community, is that right now we are, having all those discussions of people, showing interest to become a potential member of the community. And during those discussions, I always, ask people how they feel about those events. Do they prefer in-person event or virtual events? Because that's a never-ending debate. And honestly, there is also just no right answer, right? You have,
That's it.
yeah, I can see though two different groups of people. You have the people that, like to be efficient and productive, and so they see the value of the event, they see the value of the gathering, the discussions, but they don't want to spend an hour driving to go to the event and another hour to drive back. And so you have those people that say, no, I rather prefer to have a virtual event, be there and then continue doing my stuff. And other people say, no, if you host an event, do it in person, because otherwise, how can I connect with the other attendees? It's impossible. And so it's funny to see you have those two types of personas, and of course us as the community builder, as the platform ecosystem, we have to kind of find a balance between both. But I think, as you said, we I mean, and that's going to be an experiment again. We'll see how the community reacts to it, but to have that quarterly in-person event and then all the others having virtual, I think it's going to be a first
Yeah, I think
interesting
that's
thing to do.
that's why we made the split a bit, the bit bigger events always in person, and where people that when they have to drive, they really feel like, oh, it's worth it. And also that's why we take two big events, like one for the more the sales leader context, and one of the sales execution. So we really again can bring valuable people together, and then more like the online events are smaller events, like an hour and a half, just short, powerful, but full of knowledge, and that people don't have to drive, like you say, for an hour, 2 hours, and we are really capable to bring everybody still together,
Hmm.
be it online.
Yeah, because if you have to say, all right, that is Usight's USP, that is Usight's value proposition. I'm kind of throwing you a sales question there, but how would you describe our value proposition?
I think the biggest value proposition is more like learning from each other, like bring the right people together at the right moment. It's very difficult, at least in Belgium, to get together with the right salespeople of your level, with the same kind of job, with the same interest, and to discuss sales challenges. A lot of them don't want to learn from a course. We've noticed that with e-learning. They want to learn from each other, but they don't have a place. I think that's what USite has to be.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that, and indeed, I've been thinking of that, and I've also had a discussion actually today about that. And it's not because you have 10 to 15 years of experience that, of course, you know everything, but you do. I mean, you're always looking for the next incremental improvement, right? You always want to know what we can do next to have better performance, and ultimately you have to look back at the fundamentals, because you have to look up there, and sometimes you know stuff, but you still have to be reminded of it. Sometimes you just know when you hear it, and then you're like, oh yeah, I know that, and I know that I have to do that. So that's a first thing, but then you have to do this incremental stuff, and I think that's going to be the power of the community, really listening to other people's stories, experiences, failures, best practices, what they have tried, what they haven't maybe, but they could start doing. And so I think that's definitely going to be
I, th-
the ultimate value proposition that we as a community has to offer.
And I also think that actually our partners can really add to that. We had a couple of them like Gong at the event, like Gong and Outreach at our We Are Sales conference, and people were really interested with the stats and like with the tools they're coming up with. And I think that's also a role for the partners we have, like the vendors we mentioned. Like they can really come up with new kind of techniques, new kind of tools that are existing in the market, and we can bring them to the community without forcing it. Like just introducing them, like here, this is a cool tool, this is a cool methodology, might be useful. I think that's a good, the important thing with vendors.
Yeah, when you speak about vendors, you have that entire sales tech revolution that is really influencing the way we approach sales nowadays. And I think there you have different things, right? You have the fact that you can use a sales technology for an optimized sales methodology or sales approach, and that's one thing, and they will be able to contribute to that. And the other, I think, is, you know all those vendors, they all want to do content marketing, so they drop all those content bombs everywhere, and it's just, being a chaos because you have all of those content, all of those clickbaits everywhere. And I think as actually a potential user of those technologies, it's kind of becoming overwhelming because you don't know where to look anymore. You try to escape them. I mean, that's it's almost advertising, but then it's still with some kind of value. And I think there also, as a community, we kind of have to create the content that is valuable, that we think are interesting to look at for the attendees, and not just content dumped to produce some content to have those clickbaits. And I think, that's because we value partners for the quality of the community, because that will add an extra layer on what we do, but it will always have to be aligned with what we believe is good for the community. And I think that's I think the most important comment I have to make when we talk about partners, like a Gong, like any vendor or like any trainer or any partner or any organization that can mean something for the sales teams, right?
That's it. They're part of it. They're important, both like with knowledge, but also we have to be fair about it financially. But it's not just we can't take all the money and just let them do, because then I think we will ruin the community, and that's the last thing we want to do.
No, exactly. And I think that's also why we still make it a paid membership, right? Because you have those communities that are fully free, but then also fully backed by sponsors that kind of advertise a lot, spam a lot, is too much there. And that's something that we try to, we don't want to be too dependent of those partners. We think they can provide an additional layer of quality to the community, but that's why, we still have to be kind of independent of them. And yeah, I believe that's, we believe that's kind of the way to do it.
That's it. That's a very important point you make there, because indeed you have to be able to provide the basics, and that's a very important thing. If you can't provide the basics, and even for the basics you're dependent of a sponsor, then you might have problems when there is a downturn in the economy or just in the sponsor market.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, when you look now at the current state and where we want to go, what are for you the biggest challenges that we might face or are facing currently?
I think the biggest challenge right now is creating urgency with everybody to join the community. Just like everybody likes the idea, not everybody, of course, not everybody, but a lot of people are enthusiastic about the idea, about the events, about just the concept behind it. It just creates urgency, and yes, you have to join now, because they might say, "Oh, you're the first ones," but yes, they have to be the first movers that made the initial community, then make it go. It's you see it a lot. You need scale in the community to really make a mark, and it's just getting to that scale that's a hard part. I think that's the biggest challenge for us. Do you see another one?
Yeah, no, I have another one, but I agree on that one. I think people are waiting for the moment they have to become a member to continue, be part of the community, because people can become now a free member, and we have some kind of freemium, and with that they can already start and having a feeling with the community. But yeah, when I have conversation with them, they all mention that, most of them mention indeed great interest for the community, but you see, as you say, there is we miss something there. If they want to act now, we miss something. But maybe that's okay, we don't maybe have to push it, maybe just wait. I think it's also fair for them to try out the community first, and then actually if they see the value, take the next step. So maybe it's just a thing for us to be patient regarding that. Another challenge that I think we are currently facing is, just being overworked. I think in some way we want to do too much, but at the same time, I think it's important for the Usights brand to be seen as a Tomorrowland. You want to be the full-on experience, which is a wow effect from the beginning to the end, and that people will remember. And just because of that, they want to be part of it. They want to be part of our story. And if you want to do too much, it's going to be hard to also, keep that brand quality. And so I think that's going to be a challenge for us, because we want to do a podcast, we want to do in-person events. We want to do the community membership. We want to do partner events. We want to do a newsletter, and it's it's kind of maybe too much. And I mean, that's probably something that we'll discuss after the podcast as well. How can we prioritize our activities? And maybe it will be about doubling down on one thing, maybe only on the membership, or maybe only on the big conferences. It will all depend on members' feedback. But I think it's I think that's the challenge of every startup, right? You have to start somewhere. You don't know where to go, but you have to try out and do the experiments and see where the people wants to bring us.
Yeah, I think that's the downside also with a community. If you want to test something, you have to give it a bit of time. You can't say after one online event or after one in-person event, like, yes, that's it. It's certain that it was good. It will be good always, because people's behaviors change, especially with events. Sometimes only 5 people come to one thing, but all of a sudden, the 4th edition or the 5th edition, it's full house. I know a lot of event organizers had it, like, oh, we're gonna quit our event because we don't have traction. But then the next event, all of a sudden, it's boom. And that's the thing, we have to try a lot of things at the same time, and all of those things need a lot of preparation. That's why for right now we have to put a lot of effort in a lot of things. But I agree, we have to really set our priorities. That will be a big challenge the coming months, days even, to see what we're going to continue and what not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. But that also makes it exciting, we still don't know where we're going at exactly, even though we have some kind of a plan in place and some metrics in place, but still in 3 months from now we might change from trajectory, and that's okay actually. But you have to be, you should be equipped with that mindset of everything might change in 3 months from now, and that's okay, and that's maybe not given to everyone.
Let's say in the next podcast they'll get an update on this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Where we'll focus on. I think it will be the end of September, something like that. So then by then we should know a bit where the focus lies. So let's keep that for them.
Yeah, and definitely, because also, and that's also maybe some cool thing to mention, is that our first quarterly event will also be held in September. So from there we will also know how that took off.
That's it.
All right, well, I think we have given an elaborated update of what's happening behind the scenes. Thanks, Maarten, for being back on the show. Of course, you will not be gone forever. We'll see you on episode 25th. Thank you for being here, and let's build this community, man.
Let's go.